Okay, I'm back.
Sounds good.
So is this like also a video, or are you just gonna do audio, Aaron?
Yeah, I do the audio through just the regular podcast feeds, podcast apps, and then I'll post a couple of clips. I'll usually just post to YouTube.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
I
Good.
was unsure about that, and hence my eating dinner during the. But
You could edit that out. I could
that
edit
just happened.
around
So,
it.
hey,
Yeah,
And I'm
so
literally
the
having
video,
like sangria because I'm so goddamn hot.
well, Chris, this is your
Sorry.
cue. What
In
part?
approach.
Real classy. Been doing Cabernet Sauvignon with
We're
ice
poets. We're poets, guys. We have to.
in the
I
contract.
mean, come on.
we have to fulfill the stereotype.
Yep. Yeah, this is the looser
Oh,
segment. So this is the time we could celebrate some of the poems that have made it through the process and enjoy a little cool beverage in the meantime. Yeah, I think it might be nice just to like share for each of you to share one of your poems, and then we love as part of the podcast as it goes on. Any behind the scenes, really, anything you'd want to offer in terms of like the experience you're writing from, where it came from, odds and ends, anything the reader wouldn't get, unless we were talking to the person who wrote it. So if you want to share anything like that, that's always super appreciated. Eben, did you have a preference on which one you wanted to read?
Mother Study was the most recent one. However,
Okay.
what I meant to ask about the flashcards is
Yeah.
in the chat book
Oh,
that just came out. So
perfect.
to me, that would be slightly more thematic, but I don't want to be redundant if that doesn't feel right. I think I might have mentioned that poem during the last podcast, but I don't know if people are really tracking it that closely. So
No, that's excellent. Yeah, let's do that.
okay, then maybe I will actually track that one down and pull it up.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm good. What I meant to ask when I called you earlier was not where I put my flashcards, on the counter or desk drawer, or maybe my jacket pocket where you inserted your hand while the cell crinkled and roughed. What I meant to ask was where I should put us. Like, will it just end like it started, in a language I have only begun to learn, evading percept or recall, though I often sit cross-legged on the rug and sort them into piles, hobbies, times of day, things we eat, things we are, American, Chinese, busy, happy, late, approaching, the bottom of deck, hand frozen in indecision, still unsure where to put you, where to put me. I'm really excited to have this Wild Root Journal piece in my first ever chapbook that is being published with Fomoir Press. Rachel Bela as editor-in-chief, who is also featured, I understand, is it this coming issue, Aaron? Yeah, okay, cool.
Just the previous one in May, yeah.
Oh, it's the previous one. Okay, great. Yeah, the chapbook is called Character Flaws, and this can go on your new podcast about dating, Chris, because it's about judgment of the self and judgment of others in sexual and romantic relationships. And it's also yeah, okay, cool. And it's also queer as fuck. So happy Pride. So have some fun with that. Two, that makes it kind of fun. But yeah, trying to look at where relationships crumble, and how that turns into self-talk or talk about others, and how we sort of reach for stories to tell about that. And in the case of What I Meant to Ask, this poem, I think in Wild Roof it was originally titled What I Meant to Ask About the Flashcards. But oh, by the way, I guess that's a craft thing. That also, when you're starting to build for a chapbook, you can make alterations. When something gets published, that doesn't mean it's set in stone. That means it's first journey out, and poems are living beings. But anyway, yeah, this poem, for example, was about an early stage of dating with somebody, and they were Chinese and spoke Mandarin, and that was one of a set of motivations that had me thinking about learning a language. And there's that funny thing where we can, once we're putting effort into an aspect of a relationship, wonder, am I doing this for myself? And or am I doing this for the other person? And how that can then come to bear on the relationship and create pressure. And that sometimes, I noticed this speaker, this version of myself, was, as I invested more time in a relationship, I had some desire to have control over where I put you and where I put me. How do we talk about relationships, and sort of the creating of labels. And so that's what this poem was exploring. And so much more sad and horny and pining and also happy gay poems in Character Flaws at Fomor Press. You can pre-order now. I'll give Aaron the link so it can be in the wherever this podcast ends up.
This is on a completely first response. I hadn't read it before, so I'm only going by hearing it. But the idea of flashcards as a mechanism of organization, that's so perfect. That's so perfect. Because how many of us have read that self-help book? You're like, all right, I'm going to prioritize. I'm going to do my vision boards. And so that's like steep. That's everywhere. And then acknowledging that, yeah, that might not be it. But it's an attempt to create or superimpose order over chaos. And yet, so yeah, the kind of tension there is very nice. That hits right nice and close.
Thank you. And also, it says the host disabled screen sharing. Shoot, I was going to share but for those of you who get a chance to check it out in the issue, or Aaron, are you able to? Anyway, I actually do end up creating columns to try to sort of sort out the cards, in the poem. And thank you, Chris, for catching that energy of, right, don't we all want to reach for self-help and for a simple solution? Like, surely if I
prioritize,
then my romantic puzzles will be solved and I will be a fully evolved person, and then it's like
post-it notes. I got an office full of post-it notes that I hate. I resent all of them.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah, I will absolutely post the link, so it'll be on the website page, podcast page, because yeah, there is a visual component to the, like you said, the columns of the words. And I remember shout out to Anna Schechter, a reader, way back when. I remember when she was reading your submission, that was one that really caught her attention. So just kind of one of those things. Okay, let's take a look at this. And yeah, just that spatial quality of it, which kind of adds that other, a tactile, maybe even if you can kind of imagine feeling them, but also just kind of you're setting it up in space, which is kind of neat. Thank you for sharing. Morgan, are you set with yours, or do you need a minute?
Okay, so I guess I'll just dive into it. Better this way. I learned impermanence at an early age when I would wake up and the house was changed. My mother sitting in her chair after a night of slinking, rearranged, keeping her illness away from us, surrounding us, inside us. The lamp on the kitchen countertop tossed to the living room, the guest room upstairs. In a few days, the heat would rattle out to catch her in her sleep, lift her bones, and move it back to the kitchen where it was in the beginning. There, the lamp would bring some peace. There, it would be what it promised. Between me and your dad, you had no chance, kid, she said, side-eyed in a cackle, then spent the night turning the furniture on its head. How many jokes are not jokes at all? I left it alone. It's better this way, not to speak of what keeps us chained, moving in place, room to room, finding nothing. It looks better here, doesn't it? She asked me each time. I knew better than to get attached to where the lamp was. I'd spent nights fumbling around in the dark, muscle memory, hand patting for the switch, while it was plucked up as I slept. Yes, it looks better this way, I would lie. Stability gone awry. An hour later, it was gone. So I'm really proud to share this poem. Again, like I had mentioned before, this is the first publication that I am going to be published in before the collection comes out. And this is a poem, obviously, about a mother and a daughter and a kind of mania and instability that I was trying to kind of grapple with as I was dealing with my own mania and instability with a chronic illness, as well as with the trauma of what I had gone through and abruptly losing my health and my life, essentially. And I got back to this idea of kind of grappling with what the idea of free will actually is. Are we free? Is it nature? Is it nurture? Is it these kind of generational chains that no matter what we do, we're locked into them? These are not easy questions to answer, but my mother has had such a, she's left, as everyone's mother has, but I know my mother has left such an imprint on my life and my psyche. And she was also the one to take care of me when I was very sick and did not know if I was going to survive. And I was too feeble to take care of myself. She was, bathing me at one point as a 30-year-old woman. And so there was this kind of weird full circle moment where I had grown up in a house of kind of instability and some mental illness and trauma, and going through my own kind of devastation of, when this illness caught me. I was just starting a career. I had just graduated, top of my class, all of these wonderful accolades that we have in our lives that we think are going to bring us meaning. And all of that was just cast away. And she was the one who was there. And in that time, she saw me so frail, and I felt like I understood her, and I felt very connected to her in that frailty, because it was such a real place. It was such a truthful place that we often distract ourselves from, that we will do anything to look away from. Just like this kind of mania that I wrote about in this poem. It's not flattering. It's not, it's ugly, it's grotesque, it's shameful, all of these things that were believed about these weaknesses that we struggle with. But I found love. I found love in those moments, and I found truth. And so I felt like, even if this poem, and I'm sure she will end up reading it, even if it's these kind of ugly parts of ourselves, she's still my mother, and I'm like her, whether I want to be or not, or whether that is the way it is. And capturing that kind of moment that had defined a lot of my childhood, and I think made me, in a lot of ways, the way that I am, the way that we all are, or the way we're raised in our environments. Anyway, so yeah, I'm just grateful to share it. And I think there was a quote. I'll end with this. Is I was so nervous about writing about family issues like this, and especially things that aren't as flattering, but they are truthful, and oftentimes they are the best writing you can do with writing about these types of things. As a friend told me, because I was struggling with it, I'm like, this is very personal, and I don't want to hurt anyone, and this is not showing my family and this light, that it's airing out dirty laundry, so to speak. And I think, I don't remember exactly how she said it, but she said, as a writer, you have to betray the people that you love. And she meant that in the best way possible, is because if you want to get to the truth of things, you may upset those people, or you may say things that aren't as flattering, that they might not want out, but it is the truth. And yeah, I'm just grateful that it's going to be out there. And I'm actually dedicating Tilt, my collection that's going to be out by Aldrich Press in January of 2024. I'm dedicating the collection to my mother and my father. So even though they're very, confessional poems, I hope that I can make them proud, and yeah.
Morgan, I'm just grateful for the gift of your poem. And it's funny, now I'm sort of wishing I read my other poem, because also a mom poem. And the chapbook that I just was working on was sort of like, I care about it, and it was a little bit of a practice for a mama drama collection. So I'm really excited to read your piece, and sympathize with the complexity of trying to not alienate and not sort of like inflict violence on family members, while also wanting to honor your own experience. And one thing in your poem that you do that brings a little lump in my throat, because I feel like you're showing some tenderness to her, is this like, between me and you, between me and your dad, you had no chance, kid. It feels like this moment where you're showing your mom's strength of self-knowledge. And I don't know if she's going to be able to see that, but I see it, and it's really tender, and thank you.
Thank you.
And I'm glad Chris brought up the humor point, because there is, like, not to be too punny, but like dark humor in the poem when you're fumbling for the light switch because your mom put the lamp somewhere else. And there is that, like you said, self-awareness, like, yeah, I get it. I know, I know, I gotta, like, just kind of deal with this. But yeah, I think that there's the sweetness too, and the closing of, yeah, perfect. Yes, it looks better this way, that's the line at the line. So it's like, yeah,
exactly.
I know it's I know it's, not the final resting place of the lamp ultimately, but it's just kind of acknowledging, like, yeah, this is what you need to hear right now. So I'm giving you what you need, or what'll be right in the moment.
Yeah,
that's I think a case where it's like you can embrace the absurdity of it and say, hey, that you can still do that with love, though. And I'm saying that as somebody who's got an 84-year-old dad who wanted to try to organize the bills one time and threw half of my paychecks out in the safety bin, which was, of course, the garbage. And, well, you could say that, well, it's terrible, but it's also kind of hilarious. And you got to allow a little bit of room, a little bit of, I think, what was the line? Slinking through the night, or a night of slinking?
yeah,
Where
night of
somebody just gets
slinking rearranged.
night of slinking. Oh man. So I have been woken up at 2 o'clock in the morning, and I hear, Dad, he's got a project. He's got something he needs to do, and you just hear like, oh God, I hope this is the safe one. I hope he's, not even going to move the furniture around. He's just going to decide tonight's the night he's going to deal with the flashcards and start organizing those because he needs to organize his life. But he has that little manic itch at 2 o'clock in the morning. Yeah, that one absolutely hit home. So, like I could write an essay about that one based on my own experience.
Well, I think I know where you can publish it,
Thanks,
Chris.
Jay.
Just kidding, but yeah. So
You
thanks again.
you guys know the oh, sorry, go ahead.
No,
You might be closing out.
no, but yeah, if you got something else.
As the final thought, do you guys know the radio program This American Life through NPR?
Oh yeah.
I am living in existence where the script in my head, it's like, I want to write a novel about my reckless 20s, or write a poem about this last incident I had with the power structure and whether or not capitalism is real. All I can do is write a script in my head that would be appropriate for a This American Life episode, which is about me taking care of an 84-year-old dad who was an awesome, influential, creative person in my life who I love more than anybody else in the world, who also has threatened to kill me and has these psychotic breaks from reality. And I'm just trying to figure out how to love him and honor him and take care of him at the same time. We're like, hey, I also deserve some autonomy as a human agent. And it's like, that's the genre. If I'm not going to write a 400-page Russian novel about a middle-aged guy taking care of his 84-year-old dad, it's going to be a This American Life episode. So that's how I'm like scripting my own narrative right now, is through that particular genre. And I may or may not have made some recordings.
Awesome. Well, keep us posted. Yeah, this was fantastic. I'm so glad you were able to share those poems and how they kind of intersected in a nice way. And especially with the kind of the conversation about how we get to the final piece, whatever final means. Maybe it'll change even still. So yeah,
Morgan,
thanks.
by the way, I'm not sure if you can see the chat, but I did say I would love a link to pre-order your book, and I also put the pre-order link for mine in the chat, if it's of interest. But yeah, please do send.
Yes, of course. I'm still working on blurbs and all, like getting everything together because we're still in that process. But I will absolutely send it to you. And thank you so much. And I can't wait to read yours as well. It's very exciting.
I feel like if a poetry book sells like 30 copies, then you're winning, kind of. So I will be honored to be like in and amongst your 30.
Yes, I'll take it. God, 30 is winning. Hell, 15, 10, family members and friends. Oh dear.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not an exaggeration, so that's real life for you. But yeah, absolutely. We'll swap info, and we'll support when the time comes, and I'll post the links and all that good stuff. So thanks for sending that my way. Again, awesome. So glad you shared. Thanks again, Eben. Thanks again, Morgan. We'll promote more when the July issue comes out officially, because we're talking before it comes out officially. But we'll definitely you'll be seeing more of it. So thanks again. Good night. Talk to you again soon.
Thanks, guys. Nice to meet you, Morgan.
Thank you, guys.